using the data about the customer to let advertisers target them in a very specific and unique way.
My name's Gary, and you're listening to Afterthoughts, a payments original podcast, where we take a closer look at our guest's last important conversation. In this episode, Alpesh Chokshi, president of Banyan, sits down with payments CEO Karen Webster.
Hey Alpesh, how are you? Looking forward to this really interesting conversation as part of our Afterthoughts series. So thanks for making the time. I know you're a busy guy.
No, not at all, Karen. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the convo.
We all have those moments where we leave a conversation and something pops into our head that we wish we would have said in the presence of those people at that meeting, or further reflections on conversations generate ideas that often result in an email that continue the dialogue. So that's the focus of our conversation today. What are some of the things you wish you would have said or sparked an idea that kept the conversation going?
Definitely one of the topics I've been hearing a lot about in every different forum I've been at, and I want to look forward to taking more action on, is this whole advertising business launch in the financial services space. So, loyalty has been important for many years in financial services. We all have been trying to do that. But what's striking at this moment is time, and just in the last month or two big organizations, both Chase and PayPal, have come out publicly and said, we're going to create divisions. We want to create an advertising business. We're going to make it a new line of business and revenue for us as a way to serve customers. I think that's big. That's a milestone. We're at the beginning of a very different chapter, and it's exciting. Well,
I think the exciting part of it is how and why, right? So the how is using payments data to personalize offers inside the ecosystem that, Chase Media, which is how it's known, and then PayPal's unit will actually deliver offers to those inside their ecosystem. PayPal is going to open up offers beyond the merchants who are part of their network today to really give shoppers inside of their ecosystem, the 400 million PayPal account users, something to really think about. But it's that payments transactional data, the first party data, that really becomes the unlock for the offer.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, like Chase, 80 million consumers, first bank-led network. I think what's new is using data in the right way, consumer consent, compliant, privacy enabled. Obviously, both organizations have gotten their management teams and regulators comfortable that taking this step, because frankly, people had been tiptoeing but hadn't gotten there yet. So I'm glad all of that has been worked out, and it's using the data about the customer to let advertisers target them in a very specific and unique way, both on property, in the website and the apps of the providers, and frankly, and use those same people wherever they may be, because you have the data and you can connect the payments with the person without actually knowing who the person is.
Yep. No, it's really interesting. And when you're having these conversations, I mean, what are the things that people are talking about? But what are the things that after those conversations you kind of reflect on to say, this is an insight, or this is something that needs to be part of this conversation?
Taking it from the lens of where I am, I sit as president of Banyan, I'm actually excited that the data can be actually made even more targeted, even more unique, even more specific by leveraging item level data, which is what our organization does. So to me, it feels like the market has moved towards where we are, because I think folks can stand up an ads business, but I want to make sure I get ads that are relevant to me, that are unique to me, that actually have higher value than just a random X% off. So I think you'll see a lot of innovation, whether it's SKU data or other kinds of offers, innovation in making this more than just a brochureware ad strategy. But this is, for these organizations, fantastic economics.
High margin.
Fee-based revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fee-based revenue doesn't require additional capital, Basel requirements, and very high margin. Not going to build no more branches or build any more stores in order to capture these revenues. So very attractive, but the pieces hadn't been put together until I'd say fairly recently.
Yeah. I was looking at other prominent ad networks. So I was looking at Amazon and Amazon's ad network. Do you have any idea 2023 what their ad revenue was? Just ad revenue. Take a guess.
I think I just looked this up, but is it like 37 billion, 40 billion, somewhere in that?
47 billion.
There you go.
Up 24%. I mean, incredible, right? It's
47 billion for Amazon, and even Walmart, 0 to 4 billion in just a few short years. Where now the margins are so high, they're highlighting it as a high single-digit source of their operating income. Just the ads, apart from the stores and the SKUs and all the real estate. So really, really amazing. Obviously, this is something that Google and Facebook figured out a long time ago.
Of course,
it's interesting to see the rest of the world, but it has data and customers, other providers putting that together.
Yeah, it's as you point out, high margin. I was surprised. Amazon's ad revenue is 10% of all digital ad spend. That's incredible too. It hasn't really been that long. I mean, then the other player I looked at was Instacart. Instacart's put its own ad network together, in store and obviously online. Any guesses as to what their 2023 revenue was? It's not 47 billion, I'll tell you that.
You got me stumped, Karen. Was it 3 billion, 2 billion? I don't know.
It's just shy of a billion, 940 million. But still, I mean, consider that. I mean, again, these are captive audiences, right? They're captive audiences, and you're monetizing the attention and the intent. I mean, people go to Amazon to buy things, to Instacart to shop for groceries. So the intent is there, and you're able to use that captive audience and their network to monetize that intent in different ways.
Yeah, and you saw PayPal just hired Mark Grethler from Uber advertising. He grew that from 0 to 1 billion, and so obviously the goal is to replicate that playbook. But I was just filling up gas this afternoon. An ad popped up on the gas machine as I was like, looking at the numbers. Turns out everywhere you turn, Uber inside the app. So it is, the key is to make sure it's relevant and appropriate, because otherwise folks like me will just tune out.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And we do, we've been used to streaming for so long without ads that now that there are channels that show ads, it's like, oh, I don't like that experience. I mean, even though that was that was the television model, right? You're like, you're used to it, but you went to streaming to get away from it. And it's noticeable when they introduce ads inside of it.
No, I pay more not to see the ads.
Yeah, me too.
Which I guess the consumers don't mind that either. One way or the other, it works.
I mean, exactly. I mean, it's trade-offs. Are there things, Alpesh, that in those conversations that you contribute that are surprising to people? I mean, are there insights from obviously your experience at Citi and obviously now your experience at Banyan that are thought-provoking to those who are part of your conversation?
Well, I mean, you have to ask them whether it's thought-provoking. But
I'm going to assume that everything you say, Alpesh, is thought-provoking.
Hardly. I mean, to me, it's a convergence of a couple of things. I think we spoke maybe a few months back when I just started the role here as president of Banyan. SKU data had always been the holy grail of financial service companies. Like, how do we get beyond just the total to know exactly what you bought and what was in the basket? And to me, now the combination of some of that insights with a business model that says we want to make money from advertising because our customers will appreciate relevant offers from us. Mm-hmm. This is something that hasn't happened before. And I think when I link the two, people find that to be surprising. Mm-hmm. When I say that financial service companies have been loath to set up advertising units until we've talked about it for years, honestly, right? It was always, can we use the data? How can we use it? How do it the right way? Well, the bridge has been crossed. That to me, a lot of people find surprising. And I think you're going to see a lot more of these. I cannot imagine that every major organization that has consumer data will not be looking at what the PayPals, the Walmarts, the Amazons, the Chases of the world are doing and trying to, hey, how do we get a piece of that? Because as you know, the advertising budgets are huge, and a retail worldwide media spend, I think I read, is 140 billion. Mm-hmm. Just retail media. So it's a big opportunity. And, it's You can see from the valuations of the Facebooks and the Googles of the world, those are all advertising business models, right?
Absolutely.
Exciting times.
No, for sure. Do you think consumers will have to be educated? I mean, think about this for a second. So, we all have been in banking apps, credit card apps, and the offers you get are really blunt instruments. It's not necessarily relevant. It's for everybody gets the same thing. And this is a very different experience. I mean, how do you think consumers will respond when exposed to something that relevant and that different inside an environment where their expectation is not that, or their experience, I should say, is not that?
I'd say it's going to be maybe two sides of a coin. I think, right now I go to my bank app, I look for the offers, I push them. Most of them are not relevant. Even if I pushed it in the button, do I remember I pushed the button when I go there? Of course not, right? So That sort of generic hard-linked offer, everyone sees them, and a lot of people just sort of tune them out in terms of relevance because it's just too hard, right? I think taking the friction away and give me something what I want, almost reading my mind. I mean, I will appreciate that because it'll separate the wheat from the chaff as long as I know that my data is secure and private. And I think, many of these organizations that's what they built their business models on. So I'm not concerned about that. So I think the lack of friction and some true value will outweigh any fears like, oh, this is a little creepy. Like, how did they know this about me? Honestly, when I say something in a room, the next minute, Google's like playing me things. I don't know where this stuff comes from. Who knows? I think people are used to being ads based on what they've done, where they've been, where they've searched.
Do any of your conversations go to that? So how do you do this?
For sure. I don't think this is easy at all. I think we're in the very early innings of this. I just think now people know that it's possible outside the world of big tech, right? And I think the how is going to be a journey. And I think I'm hoping this will be an application where AI will make the how a lot easier. I don't know it will, but I think I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, this is an area where, consumers want personalization. They want relevance. And relevance isn't always just the offer. It's the timing of when the offer is served to the consumer. So I think there's two dimensions of relevance. For sure.
And the question is it, the credit card rewards model, I think it's pretty much played out. People, 1% back, 2% back. How do you actually make something that's more interesting and that's noticeable? And that's where I think some innovation might happen when you tap into manufacturers' budgets and they might say, hey, if you buy this type of toothpaste or this kind of soap, I will give you extra X%, which could be like X 5%, 10%. Then I think that'll be even more interesting because it'll be offers that sort of break through my, clutter zone, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine with that capability, lots of product innovations in the financial services space can also be brought to market because consumers can create their own little shopping list, their own little bundles. You can really drive habituation to the app if you begin to offer that kind of choice and that kind of relevance to consumers who obviously want it and today are very focused on how much money they can save when they make their purchases.
Everybody wants to save more money if it happens automatically, easily, based on what I want and what I want, all the better. But again, it has to be underpinned by an economic model. You've got to be able to attribute the sale back to the ad. So the manufacturer or the advertiser says, yeah, this is a high return on ad spend, and I want to do more of this. And I think that's what these models will allow, which was very hard in the old days with TV and Nielsen. Good attempts, but this is such more direct and connected.
One question before we wrap. What's the one question that you're never asked? You're in lots of conversations, and I'm sure people ask you tons of questions, but is there one that as you walk away, you say, I wish I would have gotten that question? And maybe that's the follow-up email that goes to the people you just finished having a conversation with.
I always come back to the customer. I don't always get asked, and I don't always see the person walking on the street. How is their life better because this product, this technology, this company exists, right? And I think that is something that I don't hear enough in conversation that I wish I was asked more about, which is, if we did this, will this person save extra 5 seconds in their life? Is it this many fewer clicks? Is this much more money? Because, my old roles in BD, I would get lots of companies that were technologies looking for a problem to solve, as opposed to a problem that you and I can relate to that the technology will solve. So I think that piece I would just ask every time and hope somebody asks me every single time.
It's a great way to end the conversation, Alpesh. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Good chat.
Thank you, Karen. Always a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And with that, we conclude this episode of Afterthoughts. You can find more episodes of Afterthoughts on your favorite podcast listening platform. Thanks for listening.